Have you ever just sat around and wondered about other dimensions out there, like maybe where loved ones go after they leave their bodies, or where our spirit guides are, or where our angels are? I have a little bit of an insight that spirit dropped into my conscious a little over 2 weeks ago. And I actually drew a picture of what they showed me. I'm going to talk about it in this episode. But if you are not watching it on YouTube, I am going to encourage you to come over and watch it on my YouTube channel, because I will attempt to show you by providing some graphics on what this looks like in the way they showed it to me. So stay tuned for this very interesting episode. Welcome to the Soul Alignment Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Angie, and I'm inviting you to explore the depths of self-sabotage, limiting mindsets, and the beliefs that hinder our progress in life. Through intuitive messages I receive from my spirit team, I share profound insights to help you live authentically and break free from these limitations. Join me now as we uncover all the keys to living your best life. Welcome back. My name is Angie, and I am your Soul Alignment Mentor, bringing you intuitive messages to help you align with your highest self. So I often get these random downloads in my mind from spirit about things that we probably all wonder about sometimes. Maybe we don't. Maybe it's just me. But I sometimes think about the other dimensions that are around because I have contact with spirits often. And I know that when I do a mediumship reading or a intuitive reading, there is a different frequency with each of those. So when I'm doing a intuitive psychic reading, the energy feels less, it feels a little bit heavier, I guess, than what I would feel when I do a mediumship reading. And then when I do channeling, the channeling energy feels almost like floating energy. So there's a shift in the energy between when I am connecting one-on-one through just connecting with energy with another human and providing a reading for them through connecting with the energy within themselves and with their own spirit team. And then when I connect with higher dimension with a loved one that is in spirit, that requires me to raise my frequency and my energies a little bit more than what it is when I connect with somebody, because their frequency is much higher than our frequency. Now, when I connect with spirit guides or angels or masters or any other beings, they are all going to come in with a different frequency as well. One of the things I want to just quickly explain is that every single one of us are a part of this realm of earth and this frequency, but we all hold our own unique frequency. And so the way that my spirit team has been able to teach me this is by thinking about a song. When you have several people, you have singers, you have the instruments, you might have a band, you might have an orchestra, you might have maybe even they're putting this image in my head of a play, and everybody has their role, everybody has their part, but you're not playing the same part as somebody else. You might be playing the same instrument, you might be playing the same singing the same words. You might have all these things that you're very similar like, but you are not doing it in the same exact way. And so that is your unique frequency. That is your unique makeup from source energy that created you. And this can go all the way down into our DNA. And that is why we're able to track our DNA back through family lines, because we hold a certain type of DNA outside of other people's DNA. And so it is really pretty amazing to think about all of the different frequencies and energies that source has created and is continuing to create, because this is an ongoing, continual process that spirit is doing. This will never end. The spirit will continue be creating more of itself. And we came to be humans on earth because we wanted to be a part of that. And you may have heard, you may not have heard that Earth can be a very, very hard place to be. Of course, we all know that we're here. But spirits actually look forward to coming to Earth because they know that they're going to learn the most lessons here, and they're going to be able to provide the most support to the universe in this realm that we're in. Now, there are other planets, there are other star systems, there are galaxies, there's all kinds of stuff out there that we cannot comprehend as we are a human. Now, when we go back into spirit, it is very likely we will be able to comprehend all these things on a higher level. But because we are here as a human in a very dense energy, we think and we believe and we understand in that dense energy. And so we sometimes, what our human mind will want to do is get out of alignment with our true and highest self, and we might start trying to play the trombone when we're supposed to be playing the flute. And it's not a bad thing to push yourself and to grow and change. But when you're working out of alignment with your true authentic self, something that lights you up, something that is passionate for you, something that might be easy for you, there could be a challenge in trying to grow in it or learn it, or it might take work to perform in a certain thing that you're called to do on this earth. But it's not going to be as hard as, like, for say, I could, I mean, in my 40s, had I really, really, really tried to go to college and play professional basketball or be some kind of a professional sports player, I'm sure if I would have dedicated my entire life to that purpose, that I would have succeeded at maybe doing it. However, that would not bring me fulfillment. It is not in alignment with what I'm supposed to do on earth. And so my alignment, which is where spirit has continually guided me throughout my entire life, is back into the healing, into spirituality, into understanding consciousness and these other realms that exist. And this has been programmed in my spirit, in my soul, and I have had that frequency and that note playing inside of me since I was born. Like, I can remember clear back to childhood being very spiritual. Like, I just popped out spiritual. And so that is what is going to drive me. Now, it doesn't mean one thing is better than the other. Just like when you are listening to an orchestra, or you're listening to a song, or there's something that is cohesive and working together. It always is better when all of them are working together. And so your calling is not going to be somebody else's calling. It may look similar. You might be playing the same note. You might be in the same field, but the way you deliver what you're meant to deliver is going to be 100% different. And so you're going to touch and reach people that maybe somebody else won't in that particular frequency. So getting to this different dimensions that the spirit told me about, I have a very rough draft, and I am going to try to create a graphic and drop it in here for you guys, for you to look at this as I try to explain this. But let me first show you what this looks like here and what I drew. So you probably can't tell too much about what I scribbled, but I just want to, first of all, just explain that this in the middle is what Spirit told me was Earth. And so we have all these different layers of dimensions that I'm going to try to explain. And hopefully I can get this out clearly, as this is, I will completely be honest, like, I am not an expert this. I don't know details. This is only what was dropped into my spirit and what I know based on what I was told. So from what I can comprehend and what I was able to hear from the spirit was that if we take out all the other parts of the universe and we only focus on where we are right now as a human, there are more dimensions than what we could ever comprehend as a human. And spirit said that all the time there's more dimensions being created, and that we actually have a really big part of creating those with our human life, because here on earth is a very intense contrast and frequency. So we have created, if you go back and listen to my last episode where I talk about demons and darkness, we have created this dark energy that kind of works against us in many ways, why we're here, that we have to push through. And that is for the purpose of growth, because it allows us to come back into self. When we don't remember ourselves, then we have the ability to remember ourselves. And so when we're in spirit, there's no way to remember ourselves, because we just know, we don't forget that. So what spirit told me was that they showed me the earth, and they explained to me that the core of the earth has a frequency of its own. And according to this realm, and according to where we are as an earthly human, that all the frequencies in which I talk about impact us as a human. Now, when we move into another dimension, or when if we go back into a star system and we become, another species or a alien or whatever it might be in a different lifetime, which is also happening currently, which I won't go into that, because there is no time in the universe. Basically, we have time here on earth just so we can comprehend and have a contrast. But the core of the earth is the first frequency that impacts our human body. So if you know anything about our chakra system, we focus on 7 chakras, but we actually have 114 chakras in total. So our complete aura, or the energy around us, our aura, our body, we have little different notes and frequencies all over our body. And so we actually have a earth chakra, a ground chakra that is below our root chakra that goes into the earth. And so the earth's frequency within the core of the earth is the first dimension that spirit showed me. Then we move to the outward part of the earth, where kind of like the plants, the animals, like we have this frequency that kind of goes around the core of the earth. And that's what they showed me as this second dimension. Then we move into 3D, which is where our human comprehension, our human lives are the where we are. Now, the first, second, third dimensions are very, compared to the other frequencies, are what we would call low frequency. They're denser, they're heavier, they're harder to work through. And so as I'm even saying these things right now, there's a consciousness to all of this. There is an actual energy of consciousness involved in all of these dimensions, but that consciousness is held differently within a different frequency. So like if we think about animals or we think about plants, they have a consciousness, but they don't communicate like we do as a human. They don't have necessarily a voice that they speak with. Now, animals, they have a voice, but their voice is a different frequency. And so they're kind of in a different, like the second and third dimension really work together. And so the reality of it is the second, third, fourth, and fifth dimension all are kind of combined together in some way. And so we have been in the third dimension. And if you know anything about New Earth energy and the energy of the earth rising in frequency, we have been moving through what we would call like a 4D frequency energy into 5D. So we're in this and it's much like what happens when we leave our body and we go back to spirit, is like this middle ground of this like void where we're not in that 3D energy anymore, but we're not fully into the 5D energy, because our body has to have time to adjust to shift into this higher frequency. And so many of us have had symptoms like ascension symptoms, or our spirits is awakening, like our consciousness is awakening back into understanding ourselves as spiritual beings. We are having these awakenings all over this earth, because we have shifted up into this like kind of what we call a mid layer of training, basically, where we are learning about higher consciousness. Because if we were to just go from 3D to 5D, it would shock our system. Like, I think, and I'm hearing spirit say that this can be a lot like a spiritual psychosis episode, or like a quick Kundalini awakening where people kind of just lose it. And so spirit wants us to have a gradual shift into this because it knows that we need to have a gradual shift. And the same thing happens when we leave our body. But because there is no time, the spirit moves much quicker than what we do in our body. And so what we would comprehend as how quick it happens is much different when we go back in the spirit and leave our body. So we're kind of in this middle ground right now where we are shifting into higher consciousness, where we will move into new earth energy, into 5D energy. And now spirit has also shared with me that this split of the old 3D earth and the new 5D earth will happen in a way that will allow 3D energy and the first, second, and third dimensions and the fourth dimension to continue to be, but we will no longer be working with that energy because our spirit that came from source energy, our soul, has come, and we have basically learn the lessons we are meant to do what we're meant to do in this field of energy. And so now we will move into the next one to continue to create more and more and more of the universe. So moving into the 5D energy, this will be the new earth energy. This will be, our bodies will be different. Our consciousness will be higher. We will have more of an understanding of who we are, of source energy, God, of the universe. We will be working more cohesively and in the energy of love because we're moving a little bit closer to the source energy that we are created from. And so that energy is going to be a little bit lighter than what we have felt in the 3D energy. And that is why manifestations will speed up in 5D energy, because what we think becomes, and this is why it's been so important for those that are going through an awakening to really focus on healing and releasing old trauma or old limiting beliefs or things stored in their body, because when you go into 5D energy, it manifests so much more quickly. You don't want to bring in that old part of you because it's just going to recreate more of the 3D energy in the 5D, and we're letting that part go. So we're letting go and we're healing and we're moving past that comprehension of who we were in that dense energy. Now, moving from 5D to 6D, I'm just looking at my notes here. This is where it gets interesting. So they explained to me that the 6D is like a protective barrier. So this would be right when a human pops out of their body. So if you've heard or read or watched any near-death experiences, the way they explained to me was immediately when somebody pops out of their body, when they have transitioned back into their spirit self, they go and they're able to see their body. They're able to look down and see, oh, that was what I was living in. They have this comprehension that that's not really who they are. And some spirits will have this shock of like, oh, I'm not dead, or this is, that wasn't my real self. There's even people that don't recognize their body. Like, there's just all this stuff that happens. And so there's like this protective layer around this dimension that allows spirits to come out, and then we don't see it because they're kind of in a different dimension. Now, like I said before, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and now the sixth dimension is kind of all of this is all one dimension. It's not separate. So it's not like we're gonna be, blocks in each one. Now there are, because we are so dense, we can't comprehend these higher energies unless you have moved your frequency up and you are able to communicate with spirits or communicate with loved ones on the other side. And so what happens is the spirit will move into this protective layer, and then in the seventh dimension is where our guides and our loved ones that have moved into the light basically have been able to like kind of pull us into what we would comprehend. The way a lot of near-death experiences explain this dimension is a very dark, it's dark, not in the human way of saying it. This is a, like, I would say more like a cocoon. Like if we were a butterfly and we went into a cocoon, like we're getting ready to be rebirthed, basically. And so we go into this waiting place of like kind of just emptiness is what maybe it might feel like. And in this place, spirits can become confused between these two dimensions because they might not know they can go to the light, or they may have brought something with them from earth, which I talk about this in my last episode with the demons as well. This is where that confusion comes in. So I'll move past that part, but in this place is where our loved ones, our spirit guides will show up, and they will try to help guide us into the light, into a different dimension. And so the spirit guides will move into this realm, help the spirit to transition. And the way that, and they're reminding me of something they told me over a year ago. They told me that the reason that we have loved ones or guides come to meet us in this empty space, this cocoon space, is because it's such a shock to our spirit, to who we are, our consciousness, to move from 3D to the 6D and 7D energy just so quickly. And so that's why we can get confused as a spirit, because it's just like, wait, I was just in this really, really, really intense energy. Now I'm free. And a lot of people feel like it's just like taking off old dirty clothes, and like all of a sudden you're just like, you feel good. It's just like there's nothing hindering you at this point. But the spirit guides are there to help you kind of balance out and understand what just happened. And this is where they might do your life review. This is where you will see loved ones. They'll present themselves as your loved ones. Sometimes they'll just be an energy. Sometimes they will present themselves as the human part. This is also where you might manifest a experience, like you will see, like it will look kind of like earthly, but at a higher frequency, where you can comprehend the consciousness of all things. You can like you can understand the grass is alive, the trees are alive, like everything is speaking in all one. And so you kind of, what we understood as a human, we can manifest in this realm, and it's much quicker and it's faster, and what we think, it just happens. And so our guides are like, okay, let's go to this next dimension. Let's go to the higher dimension, which we would move into to the 7th dimension, which is where the spirits cross. I think I was just talking about that. I'm kind of losing track of where I am, but so the spirits can cross between the 7th dimension. So when we come back, like if we were to reincarnate, or spirits that are coming, they will move through that protective layer. And this is why some of the spirits that can remember coming to Earth, or humans, they will remember coming in a light, or they were like a beam of light, or they remember like kind of shooting into this little baby body. They come from that higher dimension. And so we move into the 8th dimension. And this is where they explain to me that spirits will stay if they're wanting to reincarnate. Now, the 8th dimension, the way they explained it to me, was very interesting. Because the 8th dimension is more so connected with the other star systems. This is why we can actually look up in the sky and see stars and planets and all that, because they are kind of up in a different dimension, but we still have comprehension of it. And so the reincarnated, or those spirits that are waiting to be reincarnated, or have, or are waiting to come, to Earth, or whatever it is, they're kind of in this space. They might be living another life on another planet. They might be experiencing something. All of it's for the purpose of expanding love in the universe's comprehension of its own self. It's basically God experiencing itself. So in this dimension is what we would call maybe the aliens, or like just things that we probably wouldn't even be able to comprehend as a human. But that's kind of how my spirit guides explain this to me. And this is going to be also where So they explained that the seventh, eighth, and ninth dimensions moving on, they're less dense, and so the spirits can move more freely between the dimensions. Now, as a human, we cannot move. Really, 5D is going to be the last dimension until the universe continues to expand, that we could probably comprehend past that. Now we can connect with other dimensions through connecting through our spirit, through our intuition, through meditation, like all these kind of things. But in that realm, in that higher frequency realm, like the aliens, they know there's angels. They know that there's other beings out there. They know, like, the other things that we as human might think are kind of weird or scary or whatever, like they have a full comprehension as far as like the dimensions that they are able to connect with, where they're, because even the aliens they have created a little bit of a dense energy around them for the purpose of expansion as well, which is a whole nother thing. So in these like 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all these levels are kind of where all the spirits stay. And our guides, the way they explained it to me, are really kind of in the 9th dimension. Like they stay there. And so this is why it is. So between the 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension, when we connect with a loved one or we connect with a spirit guide, this is why we as a human have to raise our frequency to hear spirits, to hear from our guides. And this is something I teach in my 7-week course about how to do that. How do you raise your frequency? How do you connect with these higher dimensions? Because our body is so dense that our spirit kind of is blocked in that way. And so we have to raise our frequency to connect with these higher dimensions. And this is how we can hear from our spirit guides. This is how we can be led by our spirit guides, have a relationship, communication. Even for myself, like having a relationship with my dad's spirit who passed away in 2020. And so this allows, like with me raising my consciousness, I'm able to connect with these dimensions. Now we go into like the 10th dimension, where we would find the angels. These are higher beings. Now, again, all these beings can move into they can come down to like the 7th dimension. They don't normally move past the 6th layer, because this is like that holding ground, that dark energy that I was talking about. But this is why we, as our spirit self, our frequency has to rise so that we can connect with that higher dimension. Because once they come down to that, if they were to pass through that 6th, 5th dimension, they would have to become a human, basically. Now, what we cannot comprehend as a human is that they can be here, but not be here. And this is hard because like people that have had the ability to channel or to see a spirit, like I've seen spirits, or to I don't know, have like these really interesting experiences. The higher dimensional beings are more capable of, because they can manifest so quickly, more capable of shifting their energy to meet, like to kind of come into our understanding. But if I like what Spirit is trying to tell me right now is that some of the humans have been here so many times that they come in with a higher frequency, and those with a lower, that haven't kind of reincarnated or learned their earthly lessons, they might continue in that lower frequency until they learn more of the lesson of that. And so that's why some people might have more of an ability or a gift than other people, because they're not on what we would call the same timeline of their soul's evolution. So into the 10th dimension, we have the angels. Then we move up into the 11th dimension, which they explained to me were more of the teachers, the masters, like Jesus, Buddha, Yogananda, like all these people that were these spirits that were once a human, that kind of mastered that human life, came into that higher frequency consciousness, and now they're able to be part of this team between the guides, angels, masters, all moving together and supporting us as we're here on earth. Then they explained to me that we move into the 12th dimension, which would be like more the higher beings, where we would see like cherubim or the wheel of time, or like there's like all these things that like even the Bible talks about all these weird beings and things. Now, angels do not look like the way that we think they look like as humans. They also look very I mean, if we were to actually describe it, like monsters, basically, but they present themselves in human form so that we can release some of that fear when we connect with them. So we're into the master teachers. So the 10th and 11th dimension, they explained to me, really were together. There was not really much separation between these two dimensions because they kind of just work together. The angels and the masters, they all kind of work together. Then we move into the cherubim, to the higher beings, the ones that are continually like worshiping the spirit, worshiping God, like kind of the ones that you would read in the Bible that are circling, that are like with this energy of God. Then they said that the 13th dimension is another protective layer, like the 6th dimension, because once you start getting into these higher frequencies, once you start moving up even more so, you become God again. And so there's not this separation when we get to the higher dimensions. And I've actually read a book where a woman had a near death experience where she went back into this frequency of God and saw everything as God. Which is super. If I can remember the book, I'll drop the name of it below. But it was amazing to hear her story and comprehension of who she was as God, as source energy. And so they explained that there's like this, it's not necessarily that things can't move in and out of these dimensions, but another like cocoon energy to protect God's energy from all the other dimensions because it is so huge and so potent. And then they explained to me that God is in the 14th dimension, and that this dimension is limitless and that we cannot comprehend it beyond that point. Because like there is endless there. And so even me saying dimension is a limitless way to talk about this, because the reality of it is it's all one coherent thing. There's not really layers, there's not really shifts, there's not any changes. It's just our comprehension of it because of the frequency we're currently living in. But also because of why we chose to be a human at this time, and the purpose of our soul and our spirit at this level that we're at now. So that is kind of what Spirit explained to me. Again, I'm not going to confirm or deny that any of this is real. I thought it was very interesting, and I thought it helps explain maybe a little bit more about what it might be like when we go back into our spirit self, when we leave the earth again. But also why it's important for us humans to raise our frequency to be able to connect with these higher dimensions, to connect with our angels, connect with our guides, connect with our loved ones. And as we move into 5D energy, it's going to be a little bit more easier. And this is also why we're having the ability to connect with aliens, because we're moving into 5D energy and they're already at that higher frequency. And so there's going to be less of a barrier for us to connect with one another. So that is what Spirit told me about the dimensions that I was able to comprehend. And I'd love to hear your thoughts if you have had an experience like this. If not, then just share what you kind of picked up in this. And also, if you are interested in working on raising your frequency, or you would like to learn how to connect with higher dimensions, like I said before, like we have to work on our own energy. I offer an individual 7-week course where I teach you individually how to do that, or I offer a group course. The group course is actually starting on February 1st. So hurry up and run over and sign up for that. And I will take you through your entire chakra system. I will take you through teaching you how to raise your frequency and your vibration so that you can connect with these spirit guides or loved ones or whatever. And I believe fully that anybody can do this. It's not necessarily, if you are feeling called to do that, that means that you have the ability and capability to do it. So we put the limits on our own selves through our own minds that things can't happen. And so but we have the ability to train ourselves and move through those barriers. So if you want to do that, come over to angieharris.org, go to Raise Your Vibration course, and you can sign up individually with me or for that group course that we start next week. So I wish you all the best day, night, or evening, wherever you are in the world. I send you all the universal love. Namaste.